Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the daily stream that we've been doing, where we are going to continue practicing the law of assumption to be the supreme authority of your reality and manifest your wish fulfilled, whatever that is. The whole point is we are no longer submitting to 3D. We're not allowing limitations, manipulations, whatever, to block us from who you really are, being the operant power, the God, the goddess of your reality. Now, if you are just joining, so y'all can hear me, if you're just joining, be sure to catch up on the past videos. Everyone else, welcome back. Okay, we've been reading my script, my workshop about being the supreme authority. We took a break yesterday. We're going to take another break today. I've been getting so many just downloads, so many intuitive hits, so many different meditations. And that's how the Supreme Authority workshop, it's just that I get these downloads from past experiences or things I'm integrating as I practice the law. And I just create a lot of meditations, a lot of different inner conversations and different ways to embody it so I can better experience it. And then I love sharing that once I'm like, okay, this is working. What I want to share tonight, this is I was on another level today of just after doing these scripts and meditations, as I was kind of channeling a lot of different revelations of my own inner conversations about different delays and recognitions I had about where there's still these sneaky places, right? Where I still have so much hesitancy. I still have so much grief. I have so much I've been visualizing this. I've been doing inner conversations about this for years, but there's still that voice that just feels so inevitable. That's but it's not going to happen today, but you're not ready. And as I was kind of getting into it and trying to be with it and be like, what is that? What is that voice? Why? If this is the thing I desire the most, why does it seem so impossible? And a lot came through. What I'm going to share with you tonight is I will share parts of the script that I created as I was going through it. And after I did this script, because I basically just write down the script of what's going on within, and then I kind of meditate on it, and I'll play it back to myself. And after I was doing this, I probably did it for 2 hours. I was in another realm of just electricity within my body. It was a very unified, ecstatic feeling that I've had this feeling when I've taught yoga or done meditation retreats where I'll be doing different tantric retreats for weeks or months, right? And then you're on this high. This was just chilling in my room doing this, and it was incredibly vivid and powerful, and it brought up a lot of blocks that I want to talk about. Okay, so before I go into this, if you want the script of this, what I'm doing right now is I'm putting together a smaller version of it. Just email us for right now. I'm going to be adding the full meditation, and I'm going to be so transparent. It's explicit, because the more aroused, the more you can sense it, the tones of reality, and it can be a powerful, passionate, erotic conversation. You are going to be in the state of the wish fulfilled. Your body's going to react to it and respond, and it's powerful. I mean, romance, passion, these are powerful emotions. And the beauty of inner conversation, when you allow the conversation to hold all your emotions, because love brings up grief, terror, betrayal, hurt. I mean, I've worked with clients for years now with manifesting a specific person, especially. and they're like, I can manifest money, I can manifest a job. Why is this so hard? I got clear on that today, but what I always found is when it comes to longings of the heart and the womb, or like, again, this isn't gender specific, just union, right, with another, we've been so ingrained to believe in separation and betrayal. And I'm going to go into more of the things that were coming up today. We're like this intense longing for union with our person, for ecstatic bliss, for like continual, the orgasmic feeling of creation, which again, from a Tantra perspective, that's what it is. Neville kind of talks about it too, not as much. And I really got clear on like what Neville was missing, because that was a thing too, as a woman, working with other women especially, and with men, there was a lot that Neville just didn't long for, wasn't a big deal to him. Where for myself, like having a union with my partner, having a physical, a spiritual, emotional connection, like that's my deepest longing. That's what I'm here for. And then to have a family like where that type of love is super stable, right? There's been a ton of obviously ingrained beliefs that speak to the opposite of that, and that have really disconnected us from having that state of just blissful union that is so powerful. It's so powerful. So let's get into some of the blocks. And again, if you want the full script of this, I'm gonna do like a little quiz too, so people can clear on, where they're blocked. Send us an email. And then my other course, the Reclaiming the Throne, I'm gonna be adding the full script there. And in audio, again, it's explicit. I'm just, the more arousal, the better in all this. But like, yeah, just be aware. Don't read it to your kids, I mean, do what you want, but it's really meant for adults. But what I want to do now, okay, I want to talk about the 10 like main blocks, right, that I was getting into. Because when I was having these conversations and I was getting clear on like, what are like my deepest longings? What do I want more than anything? And it's for that like ecstatic, blissful union with my person, where we're manifesting together. We have this incredible connection, and we're both the supreme authority of our reality. We're doing this together, and there is this deep understanding and connection. It's not fleeting. It's not here and there. It's not like maybe once a week, it's like, no, this is our world. This is how it is. We set the tone. And where I kept finding myself so blocked is like feeling like that ecstatic bliss really is just like these one-off moments. They're like Hollywood moments. They're not continual, which I know is not the core of creation. I just know that. I know the core of creation, which is like atoms, electrons, whatever. There's like a sponda. It's called sponda in Tantra. Like there's a gyrating substance it's just always creating. It's blissful. It's ecstatic. It's just what it is. It's very neutral, but that's what it is. It's not this like mundane, sterile, maybe after work, maybe if you deserve it. Like a lot of those beliefs were coming up, and I was just like, oh, I can't stand this. And I actually was overcome with so much grief around it, because I found myself again in these patterns of like, well, yeah, you're not going to have it yet because I have to prove my worth still not enough for love and bliss and ecstasy. Okay. I still have this lingering fear of betrayal and abandonment, right? So even though it's like, I know that others don't have free will, at the same time, I don't know that. I don't believe that. And there's so much betrayal. There's so much abandonment, especially inside of me. And this was a big point I wanted to get to tonight. And if you get the course and the scripts, you'll see how I really go into it. Neville talks about how like in inner conversations with your person or God, your state of being, like you're never alone. Whatever you're doing on the inside gets manifested without, right? But I found, even when I'm having these big visualizations or imaginal acts of what I really want, I would still just feel this like emptiness and this distrust and this betrayal, like, but nothing's actually going to be done about this. I'm going to have to go make it happen on my own. Or, I imagine them doing this, but they're not going to actually do it tomorrow. They don't actually care. I have to keep imagining so they remember. And again, this is those core like wounds and beliefs of betrayal, abandonment. I have to prove something to get something good. I feel that I have to chase the love, the money, the success, because letting them come to me, what if they don't? This is too important. What if they don't care as much as I do, right? There might be an underlying guilt or discomfort about surpassing people around me. That, to my inner children especially, it was such an unconscious one where things would get so good. And then at least with my upbringing, it would just, if I shared some good news, it would just get dismissed. Like no one in my upbringing ever read my books or listened to any of my meditations. I'd make them like meditations for the family to like heal, and no one would even listen to them. And I should be like, oh, okay, whatever. I guess I can't, can't make them do it, whatever. And then I would just have this like diminishing of like, well, I'll celebrate their wins, but don't worry about mine. It's whatever. And don't make them uncomfortable, especially. That was a big theme for me. So I would just not even tell friends or family because like, why? And then there was also this fear, this uncomfortability of stability, right? Again, this is from my upbringing. You might be able to relate. I grew up in chaos, like so much chaos, so much drama, where again, the inner children in me, the idea of like stability, cause and effect, I do an inner conversation, it happens tomorrow. I imagine money coming in, it shows up tomorrow. I want and desire more like romantic relationships with my person. I imagine it, it'll show up. My needs will be met tomorrow. That just didn't happen growing up. So the inner child in me had to build beliefs around, I can thrive in chaos. I can thrive in the unexpected. I can go with the flow. It's fine. And the inner child in me too is like, chaos is better anyway. Stability is boring, hence then creating tons of toxic relationships, and then there's that underlying belief still that like, I don't really actually control my reality though. And others definitely have their own free will. And as I got deeper into that one, it was like, well, I don't want like my will to be the only will, because that's how I was raised, where, my father's will, my mom's will, like their will was the only will. And I was like a slave, and it was terrible. And I would much rather have a world where everyone's just free. Everyone can be themselves, whatever. So I have these like immature belief systems that I get why I had them. But this to me is like, okay, as we become operant power, we do have to look at these and be like, yeah, it's not going to fly anymore though, because it's not working, especially not at my expense anymore. I did 10. So if you get the course, you'll see all 10, addiction to drama, struggle, resistance. I mean, at least for me, again, I learned to get so much pleasure from pain of like struggling and working hard. You have to make meaning as a child of awful things, right? But that's why we take this time to look at it again and be like, that's not going to work if I'm the operant power. I don't want to keep doing that. I can't sustain it, right? So there's a few more. If you want this, just get the Reclaiming the Throne course. The whole thing will be there. Again, with the meditation too. But here's what I want to show you is like what I put together that really had me in a really cool place. And I want you to give it a try now too. So let's just start with the first block. And, in this, the way I put it is and it doesn't actually matter what gender you are, but I want you to imagine that your womb, the place of creation, okay, whether it's an actual one, an energetic one, no big deal, but your womb remembers betrayal. So it's one thing for your head to be like, no one has free will, everyone's loyal to me, whatever, it's fine. But if your womb, your place of creation, And this is, to me, again, depending on different sexual experiences. And let's say like now you're having a physical relationship with a person again. And that place within you, like you're sharing intimacy. And the womb, that space of creation is getting triggered again. And all these memories of betrayal come up, especially as we get more embodied after, like, I know I was not in my body for many years. Once I started going back in my body, it was like, I didn't want to remember any of this, right? And that betrayal, especially when we're in a romantic relationship, whether it's without or maybe just starting within at first, and we're going to be sharing our creative space with this person, we're going to remember, right? At least on an energetic level, all the times we were vulnerable, we needed someone, we let someone in, we shared parts of ourselves in an intimate setting, and they betrayed us, they ghosted us, they took us for granted, they only cared about themselves. The horror stories, like, we all have them, right? And so as we get into this place of longing and desire, and then we share with someone, whether they do anything about it or like whether they are actually going to be a culprit of that or not, right, is based on our belief systems, but it's going to trigger those beliefs, okay? And when you're in like a romantic place now, because I'm already getting to the place where like, yep, you've done inner conversations, you're in your romantic relationship, now there's a physical aspect, or it might just happen on the inside at first. But it's going to trigger grief. It's going to trigger fear. It's going to trigger betrayal on a deep core womb level. And this is where, to me, a huge part of what I've been working with is I need to make sure my masculine, first within and then without, can hold the massive emotions that I have. Because another thing, at least for me, is I am a person that desires so deeply. Like, so deeply. When I was really kind of going into putting myself back together and things that I would diminish about myself for others, people have always been, especially growing up, very resistant to how strong I desire things, how deeply, how intense I get about things. And I got so used to no one being able to hold me in these massive emotions, or any emotions really, that the second I would go to share that with an intimate partner, it's a terrifying feeling to have, like, love, intensity, vulnerability, maybe grief, betrayal, and you want to share it. And then they're just like, bye, this is too much, I can't. That type of like abandonment, that will stick with you, right? And that really stuck with me. So as I was getting to this place of really desiring again and really going back into my body and taking the law, but really saying, okay, but I want this like ecstatic union with my person, whatever. And I allowed myself to really feel that desire that I had diminished for so long. It was terrifying because it was like, oh, and if they cannot hold this, I will die again, basically. It took me back to so many memories of just feeling such an isolation, such a sorrow, such a grief. So what I started doing, and what I'm going to start sharing in these courses, is the conversations that we can start to have that really feed our need to have these massive longings and desires and emotions held and seen, where we can't even run away from ourselves. So I'm going to give you an example of one of the scripts, right? So it starts with the Neville Goddard quote: "If you assume that you are what you want to be, your assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact." Okay, part of the persisting, right? If you really are going to say like, no, I'm wealthy, I'm loved, I'm cherished, I have a deep, loving, adoring relationship where they just love all parts of me, they're always there for me, they are always by my side. Okay, all the places where someone wasn't by your side, where there was intimacy, vulnerability, it's going to come up, right? And then to persist in that when all this grief is coming up and all this terror or all this rage or anger, especially if you look around and you see some societal things and you're like, oh my gosh, how is this ever going to happen? This to me is where you need to get that inner conversation where your person, at least on the inside at first, which is you, it's always you anyway, will not run away from those big feelings. They won't. And so here's like one of the scripts I put together, right? And so you have that little fear that's like, but what if I get hurt again? And in this one, I did this one with a higher self. I did other ones where it's like male and female. I played around. So in this one, the higher self is like, wasn't it you who decided it would happen in the first place? And now aren't you deciding that it never will? So there's like that accountability of like, no, it's, you have the power now. I know before you didn't know that, so it was never your fault, but now you have the power. And then the response is like, but I feel the pain in my body. Higher self, your body is only remembering what you told it before. What if you told it something different now? Then I do like a little embodiment exercise. So, put your hands on your womb, on your lower belly. Breathe deeply. Imagine the past pain dissolving into warm golden light. Breathe. And then you can imagine your person. You can imagine yourself telling yourself this. I am held. I am loved. I am safe to receive. Feel your person telling you that, like, I'm here. I love you. You are safe to receive. I'm not going anywhere. If you need to feel this for hours, I'm going to feel it with you. If you need to cry for hours, I'm going to be right here. And what I started really doing in this script was having the masculine aspect of us really like hold to the fire. We are going to persist in this until it manifests. And it's safe. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. No matter what's going on out there, I'm not going to betray you. I'm right here. I'm right here. And then obviously that will translate into the outer world. But there was something so, at least for me, intense about going through this script. And as I like kind of held the person, my person, like, no, you can cry. You can be upset. I'm not going anywhere. And then all these other needs were coming up, all these other needs. And I was like, but isn't this too much? Like, I don't even want to feel this anymore. Like, I wanted to run away from myself. And in the script, I just really had my masculine be like, no, we can feel this. And just like I mentioned in past videos, we can feel, and in the same tone, I'm just going to reassure you. I'm not going to let you drown in this. I'm not going to let you escape or abandon yourself anymore. And it was like incredibly powerful. You'll see if you get the script too, how all these other fears were coming up of like, yeah, but after this, you're going to be so annoyed that I made you do this, or you're going to make it all about you. You don't actually care about my desires. All these fears of ways I've been treated in relationships and how I was grown to just kind of be just dismissed all the time. My emotions were always dismissed. My needs like weren't even real to my caretakers, right? And in relationships that would translate where my preferences, like whatever, doesn't matter. Now, this was not in all relationships. This is especially when memories started coming back, where I would just start to diminish and be like, okay, I guess I don't have needs, or I'll just do it on the inside, but not really expect it to manifest without, right? And I was submitting to the 3D. And so these scripts, my intention for them is really getting our masculine to learn how to hold all the feminine betrayal, all the places we were told to earn, to prove. And again, this is for both genders. The way I did it is that it doesn't matter what gender you are, you can do both sides. And we're finding that balance, right? But this is where I really want to focus with being the supreme authority. We need to be able to hold really intense longings that have never been met, and then like dominate the old beliefs so we can submit into actually coming out into our external reality. We're not going to just keep holding on to needs that will never manifest. That's not why we're here. And so, yeah, it does take this ability to hold, ancestral grief and terror and betrayal and patterns of chasing and proving all of that. These scripts are really about, okay, what if my masculine really could stay in it with me and they're not going to give up until we see it in form? And then, yeah, that will, manifest, and that will be really cool. But let's really build that muscle of doing it together within, especially when those sneaky blocks start playing out. let's catch up. Let me know your thoughts, what's come up for you. I will everything's at the Inner Conversation Coach website, but this is going to be the Reclaim the Throne course. Okay. And again, it's explicit, so enjoy. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.